They ain't ready for us.
Sober
Sister
shit show.
Hi, Christy.
Hi, Jenny.
How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. So you, as my best friend, you pretty much know a lot about my life story. I'm sure there's probably a little bit of details and stuff that you don't know, but mostly I think you kind of know. But I think it's time that we shared with our listeners so they can kind of know where we came from. So I think I'll go first and I'll tell my story today.
Yes, thank you. I think it would be good that we get to hear your story. Let's hear all about it.
Okay. So when I was born on drugs. My mom was like really bad drug addict. She had no idea who the dad was, of course. So it's fucking hilarious because there's a guy on my birth certificate and it says Rick Cherry as the dad, right? And so I was born with the last name Cherry.
Jenny Cherry.
Yeah, that's my birth certificate still says that. So, anyways, I guess like right away when he found out, he like went and got blood tests. Like I wasn't his guy. I was like brown and he's like white as hell. A good ass guy too. He's like, hey Rick Cherry, if you're listening, but good ass guy too. Like Tammy was trying to like lock his ass down, I think, but he's like a teacher. He's a good ass dude in Manteca. But anyway, so he wasn't my dad. But
when did you find all that out though?
Was my parents told me when I was when I seen my birth certificate and I'm like, what's Cherry? And I remember meeting him when I was little too. So I mean, I'll get into that. But so when I was born, and I don't know exact details, so mom, don't hate on me if like I say something wrong, but I'm just giving like my memory of things, if that makes sense, you know? And as a little kid, I think we really like remember the more trauma than we do good.
Yeah.
And as a little kid, in the way that I grew up, I think sometimes we make up false truths too. So mom, don't get offended.
That's a form of coping.
Yeah. And so, okay. So when I was born, I believe my Aunt Lucy had called, because obviously Tammy couldn't take me home. I was very little and I was on drugs, so I couldn't leave the hospital right away. And so back then, instead of like giving your kid up for adoption, you could actually like ask the family, like, hey, does anyone in the family want the baby? And so my Aunt Lucy actually called her daughter, which would be my Aunt Linda. So my biological mom, his name is Tammy. And my mommy that raised me, her name is Linda. And they are first cousins. So their moms are sisters.
Okay.
So still in the blood on the mom's side. So I'm not sure if they took me home like right away or how long I was in the hospital. But I know I was in the hospital for some time. And I went home with my aunt and uncle, Linda and David. I grew up as a little girl until the age of 5 with only them, you know, and my siblings and everybody in the household. You know, I was the baby of 4 girls, and my parents are a little bit older. They adopted me, and so my siblings, you know, were 20 years older than me, so I grew up as, like, this spoiled little baby girl, and I was very attached to my dad. I don't know why, but I think he already had his 3 daughters, and then, like, he got me, and he's like, I'm going to make this my little fisherman girl or something. I don't know. I was like his second chance or something. I'm not sure, but for some reason, I've always had this very strong connection with my dad. And so since I was a baby, I always called him Dad. And for some reason, and I know the reason, I know that Linda never, ever wanted to be like, she's so innocent, like never drank, never smoked, she's just an angel. And I know she didn't ever want to hurt Tammy by like taking me away, you know? So when I was a baby, she would tell me, I'm your auntie, when I would call her mom, because I would hear all my other friends call their parents mom and dad, you know? So until I was like 10 years old, I called them dad and auntie, which is so, now I look back, I'm like, that is so toxic and not normal to like, because I remember I was like in kindergarten and someone asked me something and I was like, oh, I live with my mom and my dad and my auntie. You know, it just sounded weird, but to me it was normal because that's all I ever knew.
Right.
Was to call them that. And so I lived there. I lived a great life. I was spoiled rotten. And then, and I knew I had a real mom. I just had never met her. And I was like 5 years old. And my mom and dad would always tell me, you know, oh, your real mom's sick. Tammy's sick. She's going to get better. And I wish they would have never told me that. You know, like I know they were just trying to like protect me, but it fucked me up thinking that that's what was going to happen.
Did you think that she was like sick maybe with like cancer?
When you're 5, you don't know.
Right.
You
so
think
she
had a cough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So in general form, they just said that she was sick.
Yeah.
So you had no explanation of what.
No.
Of
and when
why
you're that little,
sick.
you probably you shouldn't explain that to a baby. But now that I'm older, I'm like, damn, that fucked me up, I think.
Right.
But when I was 5, I remember, I may be a little bit older or something, I don't know. But I remember being like 5 years old, and I was out front, and my dad was holding me. I was like in his arms, and this car pulled up. I remember it was a white car, old school like Cadillac car. And it's crazy how you can remember details, you know, of things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And this lady gets out, and my mom starts crying, or my Aunt Linda at the time, you know, she starts crying, and I'm like, what's going on? And dude, they ripped me from my dad and took me. It was CPS. Because I was never fully adopted. I was just like given like guardianship. And so Tammy must have got out of jail or had a clean test or something, and they fucking ripped me from my home.
So they didn't have any court order or anything like that? No papers signed, no nothing. So she could come back whenever.
Yeah. And so I never met her. And then when I was 5 years old, that car came and got me, and I went I was freaking out. You know, I didn't want to be away from my dad. And so, you know, to speed it up or whatever, they took me over there with her, and it felt like years. Like, I don't really know exactly. My parents tell me you weren't there that long, but it felt so long, and just the days dragged. And I can remember from to the carpet, to the smells, and just to everything I remember. And even to this day, like, I can't have laundry on the ground because I'm just so, you know, triggered by that. But I went into this whole nother world of this, you know, trailer full of tweakers and drug addicts and random men. And, you know, I don't want to hurt my mom's feelings, but like, there's some things she doesn't know, but like, I knew how to heat up a spoon. And I was there for like a week or however long I was there that time, you know?
Right.
And so going from, you know, seeing such of a beautiful, positive, you know, no alcohol, no nothing in my household growing up as a baby, to seeing that, it's like I was like in complete culture shock. I was smart though. My parents had already taught me how to call 911 and stuff like that. So a few times I called 911 on her, and when they came, I was like, "Can you take me back to my auntie?" Like, they had no idea what I was talking about, you know. So that was bad. That's when I really was like, oh my God, I know what my real mom is. I know what this is. I'm not stupid. You know, I went to go put a cup of noodles in the microwave because she didn't feed me at all. And my biggest memory is taking it out, and I put it in for like 10 minutes or something, and it burnt my whole fucking hand all the way down my arm just because no one would feed me. I was trying to do it. Wow. At this time, my biological mom lived with my biological grandma, Grandma Moma, we used to call her, and she had just had a really bad stroke. And so they were all mooching off her, you know, living in that trailer with her. And she couldn't talk, but I was a baby too. So I would sit on her lap, and I knew what she was saying without saying it, you know, and she would tell me, like, call the cops. She would tell me, like, call Aunt Linda, you know.
So then, wait, so then when you got taken from your parents, you know what I mean, you know, that they took you into that. So this is like still all when you were like 5.
Yeah, I'm still being 5 years old.
So then you're calling the cops and everything else, and they're just over here hanging out in the trailer with grandma, and she's just
Oh yeah. And you know, that's not even the worst that happened there. You know, I don't want to get into details, but you know, sexual abuse happens, freaking all kinds of shit, you know, goes on there, and I'm just in shock and trauma, you know. And it's literally was all for food stamps. Like, the bitch wanted food stamps, welfare, you know? And so there's a couple more situations, like, where I go back home to my parents for a little bit, and then I have to go back there, and then I have to go back there. And it finally, I remember very, very, like, clearly this one day, I had an older sister, and she would always, like, leave me, like, to walk. Like, I would have to walk to school because I got signed up for school there. And
with your bio mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was, like, right down the street, you know, in Lathrop, right down the street where the school was. Me and my sister were walking there. And it felt far for me being that young, you know, so I would walk there. Well, one day I get to school, and they pull me in the office like hella weird and hella crazy, and I didn't know what was going on. And they said, is there anyone we could call? And I said, yeah, my Aunt Linda. Here's her phone number, 847-3684. I still remember that fucking phone number.
Bleep. Yeah. We're going to bleep that out.
It doesn't matter. It's not a house phone no more, gotcha. But I still remember that, you know? And so my aunt got there, and she's bawling. I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Dude, I had no fucking underwear on. I walked to school, and I had just one big baggy ass shirt that I found. No underwear, no nothing. Walked to school like that. Little ass girl, 5, 6 years old. I don't remember how old it was. And my aunt just starts bawling, you know. And I remember because she put me in the back of the car and we went straight over there down to the trailer. And she got out and she said, this is the kind of woman this woman is. She said, Tammy, I will lie to the government. I will say she lives here. You can keep her in this school. I will drive her every fucking day, that 35-minute drive to school back and forth. Yeah, no problem. Good. So I stayed with my parents.
And that's all when you were 5 or 6?
Yeah, I was like in kindergarten or first grade. I think first grade. And so then, and all this is like happening all at once, like all this shit. And so on the drive back, I remember this like so. This whole day, I remember like so clearly. I was looking out the window, and you know, there's those big flowers that are poisonous all down the highway. You know, and I remember looking at them, and I remember saying, "Hey, Aunt Linda," and she goes, "Yeah." I said, "Can I just call you mom already? You are my mom. Like, I know what a mom is. You take care of me, you do this, this, this. I've met someone else that was adopted. You're still my mom, you know?" And I told her it makes me feel weird to call dad, and you mom, auntie. And she was fucking hyperventilating so bad she pulled the car over.
Aww.
And she said, I was waiting for you to make that decision. And it was just like the sweetest moment we ever had, you know?
Wow.
And so from then on, I stayed with my parents. And they were amazing. And I want to be truthful on here, so I hope I don't ever hurt anyone's feelings. But growing up in that perfect household, just you never felt like you were going to live up to it. You know, like just I knew I had demons. I knew I had issues, you know, preteen, you know, kid. I knew something was not as, something was not as normal for me in my head than other people, I guess you can say. I didn't feel normal, you know, like other people. And so my parents just had this beautiful marriage. They were hardworking, and all my sisters were moving out and having kids, and I became an auntie, and I just never felt like I was going to live up to what they wanted from me kind of thing. And it wasn't their fault. It was my own demons, you know. And so getting into junior high was kind of where I started losing it a little bit. I started, you know, wanting to sneak out to find out who my real mom was. I got really angry, and I wanted, you know, a couple times over the years, I want to say maybe 3 times over the years, my sister, my older sister, my biological older sister, came to visit me and would bring me pictures of my mom and talk to me about her. And she had came once, I think, Tammy did, but no, I would, you know, try to call and there's no answer, and I would be the one, you know, like wanting to reach out. But when I became a preteen, that's when it really started bothering me. I wanted to like run away and go and see like, why would she not want me, or, you know, kind of thing.
Do you remember those feelings of when your sister would come over and be like, hey, this is your mom, these are pictures of her? Like, were you shying, like, you know what I mean, pushing her away with it? Like, hey, I don't want to deal
No,
with
I
any
would
of
be
this, or were you
so
very open?
excited to see her because I wanted to know, like, and I wanted to know I have a real sister too. I would see Tina, Christy, and Stacy all together, and I'm like, this is my real sister. But it turned out that she wasn't, you know, something that, like, we didn't, whatever. But, yeah, so when I was in junior high, that's when I kind of started acting out, you know, and just being angry at the world. And once I kind of started dipping and dabbling with the wrong friends and things like that, I knew, like, my biggest thing is I didn't want to hurt my parents. And I was just wired different, though. You know, I didn't know who my real dad was. I knew my mom didn't want me. Why would you not want your kid, you know? Then I started figuring out what drugs were, realizing she was a drug addict, and then remembering, like, I went to a school counselor. I don't even know if my parents know, but I remember in 7th grade I went to a school counselor, and that's when, like, things started coming up that I had, like, blocked out. Like, and I remember that shit, and then now I'm like, wow, this bitch really did all that shit. Like, this really happened, like, you know, all these things. So anyways, I started hanging out with the wrong friends, you know, getting angry, fist fighting, and all the shit that I did. And then probably, which I was a good kid too, I did cheerleading, and I was, like, involved, and my parents did a very good job trying to keep me involved. But high school, you know, freshman year, met a boy. Met a fucking boy.
I think, before we get into that, though, you know what, just something that just popped in my head, you know, is acceptance. You know what I mean? You want to be accepted Right. So like when you said, oh, I don't think that I would live up to their, what they're expecting of me or their, all of that is acceptance. You didn't think that you were going to be accepted. And then as you hang out with different crowds, did you feel like you were more accepted because, you had changed with your friend group and everything else, all the kids that started doing crazy things or whatever, different things that you weren't used to. Did you feel more accepted then?
I definitely feel like that I what's it called when you like see yourself inside, like connected more with the kids that had a harder life.
Mm-hmm.
Because my whole life I've tried to like show my mom and my dad and everybody else like, oh, I have the perfectest life, like I'm happy, I'm this, that, and like deep down inside when you're not raised by your mother and father, I don't give a fuck how perfect of a life you have, like it's trauma. Like it is traumatic, and you're never going to feel good enough and you're always going to fucking feel abandoned and you always are going to feel like whoever loves you is going to leave you, and those feelings are valid and they're real and they went all the way into my fucking dating life, know? And so, freshman year when I met a boy, that's when it really went, because I latched on so fast and, he wasn't the best. He was older and right away, started doing drugs, hardcore drugs, doing anything to make him happy or, to be cool, driving to the Bay Area, picking up fucking whole shit of ecstasy pills. Like just, I got bad quick. And this whole time I'm hiding it from my parents. And so.
Did you feel accepted by him?
Yeah, because I could tell them anything. It's hard telling your parents like, oh, I feel this way about my real mom, but you're enough. Right. Don't be don't think you're not enough. Like, because, but seeing, my mom with the other girls and then my other sisters and then me, like I've always felt like my mom has like loved me more, like tried to give me more so I didn't feel less and I didn't feel like I didn't belong. But no matter what, those feelings are always going to be there.
Right. Right. It's like a missing piece, piece to your puzzle,
Well, you don't know who the fuck you are.
Right.
At all.
And that like me giving up a child for adoption and knowing that and hearing your story, like, yes, I know and acknowledge, all the traumas that go along with it and hearing it from you and like, I can ask you questions, you know what I mean? It's just like, so that's where it's good that we are in this part, thing because I could see the other side as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but yeah. So
but when it's the best thing for the kid, it's the best thing for the kid, And trust me, adoption is beautiful, and I got so lucky. I won the lottery. I really did. And so when that happened, I started asking my mom and dad, like, "Oh, I'm in love. Can I move out? Can I move out? I love."
How old were you at this time?
Like 16, almost 17 or something. And then I don't know, I was like 17 or something and I ended up moving out. My dad was so mad at me. He's like, if you move out, like you're never coming back in this house. And my dad's really old school, he's a Vietnam vet and shit.
That's
and
how
like,
he was dealing with it. He was processing you leaving.
He's like, if you leave, you're never coming back and I'm not helping you through college or blah, blah. This is the worst mistake of your life. It was the fucking worst mistake of my life. God, wasn't that gay?
Gosh, does he know, huh?
Yeah. So I moved out, got pregnant right away. Lived in the ghetto apartment, had my baby. I was on drugs for a while until I got pregnant, and then I never touched that shit again. I was like, and I remember a couple people were like, well, what are you going to do when I got pregnant? I said, it's so funny because this was like
the reason. Smoke weed every day.
No, but this is the reason why Jake is here is because I straight looked her in the face and I said, I'm going to show Tammy Rowe that it's not hard to be a good mom. Even at 17.
There you go.
She might have been 30-something when it's not hard to put your kid over your fucking self, And I did. I had my baby. I didn't work out with my baby daddy because he, whatever the fact it is, we're too young, we're stupid, drugs, everything else. So we didn't end up working out, but I had my son and I raised him all by myself. I struggled, from house to house, or sometimes I was on people's couches and my dad never let me come back, though. He said Jake could come back, but not me.
Stuck to it.
I think one time they let me stay there for a minute right before I got a new apartment, but nope, he was not letting me live there. And that's the thing is, like, my dad always pushed me to do it on my own. And so now when he tells me, like, hey, I'm proud of you, like, it really means something, because I always figured it out.
Right.
because I couldn't lean on him.
Could you tell us stories about like how it was as a young mom? You were how old?
I
How old were you?
loved it. 17.
17.
I loved being a young mom. Breastfeeding was a little rough at first, but the doctors were awesome. I had my 3 older sisters, and so they were so helpful, and
So
just
that was your support
they
team.
were my
unit.
unit, yeah, and my mom. Like, I had a very, very good unit. It's just I was a party girl, and all my sisters and my mom are not, and so our relationships weren't the best, and I got a lot of shit for, you're supposed to be a mom, you're supposed to go out and drink. I'm like, bitch, I just turned 21. My kid's 4. Like, I want to go have fun. And so, shouldn't have had a kid then,
Justifying our actions, yeah.
Yeah. And so just throughout the years, like, I've always had a job. I always provided for my son, never fucking got welfare, never got nothing, never got child support. And I just, I worked my ass off to provide for him and give him just, like, basic fucking needs, like working paycheck to paycheck. But we did it, and we were fine. And Jake and I have we have the strongest relationship. Like, we're the best of friends. And it's like, it's cool I kind of grew up with my son, together.
Yeah.
We were just pulling in the Christmas tree downstairs, and he's like, hey, Mom, do you remember that one year where we lived on 3rd Street and you and I tied the Christmas tree to your car, and then we had to carry it up the stairs? And I was like, Jake, you were like 7. He's like, yeah. He's like, I remember that. I was like, oh, he was the man of the house,
Yeah.
He helped me carry that Christmas tree up the stairs. But we always did it. We always did it together, and we never missed out on anything. And, I had always smoked and drank a little bit here and there, but we always drank, but I didn't get real bad heavy into the drinking until I quit the salon. So I was a cosmetologist. I was a manager at a salon for a really long time, like going from, salon to salon or whatever. And then I had my little fun and bad times of, being on some coke or doing this or doing that. But I always knew how to check myself, like, oh, you're doing that too much, time to stop. Or, oh, you got a little too that, you need to fucking chill out or whatever. Never, no DUIs, never got my son taken, none of that shit. But when somebody had called me and they were like, hey, do you want to make $200 tonight? And I was like, how? What you mean? How? No, they're like, will you come stock beer? And I was like, what? Like, yeah, come stock beer, and I'll give you $200 at this bar. Like, okay. I was like maybe 23 or something, 24. And so I go down there, stocked the beer, made that $200, never left. I fell in love with the environment of just all the people, everybody happy, everyone together. Like, I just fell in love with the environment, and I became a bartender.
Do you think that because you were a young mom and when that was presented to you that you still got to have like that fun that you never got to have before?
Yeah. In which I still had fun, and I still drank or, and partied and did my own thing. But because I was a single mom and I had my son every day, which of course my mom would watch him or whatever, but because I was an everyday, all the time single parent, I wasn't like out at the clubs at 21 that much. Like, I went. I think I went like, a couple times or whatever, but I wasn't all the time until I started bartending. Soon as I started bartending, I fell in love with the environment. Then I wanted to be at the bar all the time, so I would work all day or work all night, whatever my shift was, and then still want to hang out there and be there. And then over the years, like, you would be in there with me, and it was fun. It was our second home to where we could bitch and just say the truth or fuck off and just be, all our worries were gone at that bar.
Yep.
And we became so close with everybody else there, and that's when I became an alcoholic. I was not before then. I know for a fact, because I would drink maybe like twice a month, just with friends or whatever, and feel like shit and have a hangover and not drink for a couple weeks, to drinking every fucking day. And, you just have a shot with the customer or do this or do that. And once I started drinking like that every day, I felt like I never in my life had anxiety and depression, and then there it came. And I think it was just from where I was overly working myself. Yes, I still had my own house with Jake, but I just was overworking myself and fucking drinking too much every day, all day. Had to drink when I woke up because I was getting sick. And that fucking bar life just sucked me in.
Yeah. How was that as being a mom as that all started unwinding? Like unraveling, how did that start feeling? And what did that do to your guys' relationship?
I was so caught up in my own shit that I'm just like, oh, he doesn't know, kind of thing. He doesn't notice. Like, I'm just at work all the time. But I started catching myself, either being hungover or either coming home and wanting to party more. So I was more like, oh, go play your video games after I just didn't see him for fucking 10 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, go do that. I'm over here doing this with my friends,
So you ended up putting not necessarily, you paid all the bills, you took care of shit, all of that. But at the same time, justifying your actions of like just coming home, okay, go play your game or whatever.
I put him on the back burner for a long time.
Yep.
And you don't realize that till now, till you get sober.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was fun. It was funny. Like, yeah. And so, and that was another thing is I turned into this person where everybody else was the fucking problem and I wasn't.
Right.
You do this wrong and you do this wrong and you're the reason why I'm like this. Like, I used to hella argue with my sister Tina and we just never see eye to eye on anything. Dude, we would get in these fights and she wouldn't talk to me for like a year. I wasn't allowed to go to Thanksgiving, shit like that, because I would be out of pocket.
Right.
Do you
have any memories of that stuff at holidays of how you would act?
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah. But like, and just even at my work, dude, like one of our friends, had to pick me up and drag me out because I'm in the back of, jumping in the back of someone's car, punching someone over someone else. And, just, sorry, Layla, remember she got it. Just so much shit, and just acting a fucking fool. And I felt like all my anger from when I was little and against my real mom and all this shit would just come out when I drank like that. And everybody was the enemy, And I went downhill quick. I think I was bartending, just maybe that first 3 years. I think I did it for like, maybe 8. Dude, it was a long time. But I went downhill quick. It sucked me in. I should have stayed at the salon, but it is what it is. So that's when alcohol became a problem in my life.
You wouldn't be here today talking to others about it if you didn't.
No, I'd probably be a normie. I'd probably be able to have a glass of wine right now, bitch. No.
We've never been a normie.
No, even before bartending, I would get out of pocket when I drank. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't drink as often, but when I drank, I got angry, crazy, fucking crying, wreck. I was a fucking wreck every time.
And you know how some, like, they drink to get over those feelings and not even know it, really. You just drink and not even know what you're trying to get over. But then in the end, at the end of the day, at the end of the night, all these emotions are coming up and now you're having to deal with them all over again.
So I do always say that if you're in a good mood and you drink, it makes you 10 times more happier. If you're angry and you drink, you're going to be 10 times intensifies any feeling that you have.
Did it matter what you drank? Was it switched out?
I tried hella times. So, I think like 4 years into my bartending days, everybody in Oakdale, every bar was like, you're not allowed tequila. So I got cut off tequila first because Casadores was my shit. Everyone in the town, nope, not Jenny, nope. Jenny from the block, no tequila.
Yeah, when you started drinking tequila, that was a thing. I think it was more like you saying it too, like, no, I can't drink tequila. And then we're like, what happened? Did you drink tequila? What happened, Jenny?
And then it was fucking whiskey. Then it switched to whiskey being the problem. And then it switched to, then it was like, no, bitch, you the problem.
Right. So that goes back to blaming everything else, right?
Yeah.
And then they say that too, you switch different alcohols or you switch to wine or whatever, trying to figure it out when it's simply just looking at yourself.
Yep. And at the end, I was like, nope, no hard liquor, no nothing. Like, I just drink beer or seltzers, at the end. So let's keep going so I can get through this. So just drinking in public or drinking in general, like it sucked me in. And so bartending, then I got another job at, this restaurant, in another town, and they're all drinkers there. And so I was killing it with work, making hell money, but just every day waking up, driving to work, throwing up out the car, like just throwing up. Going to work, one eyeballing it, still just sick as fuck every day for years, Christy. Years. Like, I was miserable. I literally was like, I'm gonna die. Like, I'm killing myself. I knew what I was doing to myself, but for some reason, I just couldn't quit. Like, I was so stuck in the cycle of just, like, depression, and I just need one drink, and this is gonna make blah, over and over, and just, it was crazy, and just the relationships were out of this world. I had been in so many relationships, and my problem was I went from one to another. I didn't like to be alone because my abandonment issues. Right. So I would be in one relationship, toxic, horrible, off the hook, domestic violence, everything else, then another one, and it was the same shit. And everybody I dated was an alcoholic, every single one. And it made me feel less about my drinking.
It made you
because they were drunk.
Yeah, it made you not look at you.
No one looking at me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so every single relationship I've ever been in, there was cheating, there was domestic violence, there was hitting. Like, I mean, one time I almost died. I got fucking choked out. I had to go to an ambulance, you know, things like that. And just constant chaos and drama. And it's just, I never, ever looked at the common denominator of, like, what's the problem? I just thought it was me. Like, I was never going to find anybody, right? And so a couple times I tried to quit. I was like, hey, you know, maybe I'll just quit drinking. I went to a few AA meetings, like, randomly. And I don't know. It was like, I would go and it just made me feel really awkward. It was like all old men there. And I went a few times just to kind of see what it was like without anyone knowing, just secretly, just me. And oh, hell no, it scared the shit out of me, right? Scared the shit out of me. I went home. I was like, oh no, I'm not doing this, whatever. Tried to detox a day or two. Like 3 times I tried to quit. Never worked. I would tell myself I promise you guys, at least 5 years, every morning I would pray and say, please let me not drink today. Please let me not drink today. And I still couldn't do it. I couldn't.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just like I wasn't ready or what, but I was miserable. I couldn't fucking do it no more. And so
you were at this point powerless over
dude,
alcohol.
Miserable.
Yeah.
Too. For years. And I'm not in jail. I never got a DUI. I still have my son. My life was good. I was the one damaging myself with the fucking booze, you know? Mm-hmm. And you don't see it. It's just constant depression, constant, you know, I need a mental health day, just always something. And so anyways, time goes on and I'm bartending at this bar in another town. One of the owners like just needed some help for a couple weekends. And so I was like, yeah, sure. I went over there and I helped, and I ran into an old friend of mine who's now my husband. And we hooked up or whatever, you know, we were texting and talking, and we ended up hooking up, and we have a good love story, which I'll probably tell it at some point on here. But anyways, we got together, and he was like, oh, I've been sober for like 5 years. I'm like, or 4 years, whatever. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. I'm like, why the fuck are you at the bar? Like, it's weird, you know?
I wish
but
I
he
could
just
record
went
your
in
face
there.
as you did that right now.
Dude, I have the camera on.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But he's like just coming in, like, just to like see what's up. But then later I ended up finding out, like, he knew I was working down there. Somebody told him, like, oh, there's this hot girl named Jenny working down at the bar. And he's like, I know exactly who that is. So he came on purpose. But
didn't he have like 2 other women with him that were in the program too?
Yeah,
Which is definitely not recommended.
Weird.
Not recommended.
Weird,
but.
whatever. Everyone's fucking sober story is the same. As long as you ain't drinking, I don't care what you do. So anyways, we get together very fast. We get married. We are just like slaying it with our kids and everybody else. And I'm actively drinking still. He's sober. He doesn't drink, doesn't do anything because of just his recovery, and he's highly into AA and all of that stuff. Well, it didn't bother him or I that I drank and he didn't. Like, we were big chilling on that. And he would always go take us out to the bar. He would drive. He would buy me drinks. He would buy me packs of beer every day, all these things, right? Well, we went up to Tahoe, and, you know, we kind of had, like, a night where I drank too much, and I, like, used to pee my pants a lot, you know, so I peed in the corner of the hotel room, and I just remember laughing and then waking up in the middle of the night, and he's like, hey, we're leaving. And I'm like, what do you mean? We're supposed to be here for like 2 more nights. He's like, no, Jenny, like, we're going home. You shit in the bed. I'm like, oh, God. So the whole way home, I'm just like arguing with him, like, let me the fuck out in the snow. Like, I'll drive, I'll walk. Fuck you. I don't want to, right?
Right.
Doing all this chaos in this relationship, like, not looking like, Jenny, you're the fucking problem. He's sober. Like, he's chilling. Like, you're a dumbass. You could have gambled and had a hella good weekend. Like, what are you doing? Nope. And so anyways, I get home, and, you know, I talk to you about it, and you're like, oh, don't you think, you know, you're disrespecting him by, like, being drunk all the time when he's sober? I'm like, no, hell no, he don't care. But I still thought about that in the back of my head. And then we had one more night that I partied real hard, which I had a Christmas, you know, sweater party, and I told Jason, like, oh, I'll only have beer, I promise, whatever. Yeah, halfway into the party, we go to the store, and we get, like, a bottle of Jameson, and I drank the whole thing, and I blacked out. I don't remember nothing. And the next morning I woke up was December 18th, and he looked like, I ain't putting up with this shit. Like, he looked at me like, I don't want to be in this situation, you know? So It's not that I quit for him. I don't think he would have left me at all. I think, but like he loved me. I love him. We would have made it work even if I wouldn't have quit drinking.
Did
but
it help? Just that look. Did that look help look at your actions?
dude, I feel like I was waiting all these years for a reason to quit drinking, which sounds so fucked up because I had my son that whole time. But it was almost like I needed someone to give me like an ultimatum. I think if somebody would have came to me and was like, I'm taking Jakey from you if you don't get sober, I would have quit.
Yeah, and so what you're saying is that if somebody were to hold you accountable, right?
Yeah.
Because we couldn't hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah.
That's what
If I would have had something to where someone's like, you need to do this or this is happening, or give me a choice or something, then that's, and that's what happened. He just gave me that look and I woke up and that was December 18th, 2022, and that I didn't drink. Since then, I quit. I stopped.
Right.
And I had a really hard detox. I just want to share real quick. So if you do quit drinking on your own, I don't care how much you drink. I don't care if it's one fucking drink a night. If you are detoxing by yourself and you get too shaky or you get a fever, go to the fucking hospital or have somebody with you at all times, please, because it is very dangerous. And I just threw up on the couch for a week, laid on the couch, was sick. I had my husband, so I was okay, and ate a bunch of candy, and I fucking got over it, and I was fine. And then my life just completely changed and blossomed into this beautiful life that I have now today. I have the best marriage, and I was just telling one of my girlfriends yesterday that I never thought I deserved this,
right.
Ever, the kind of love and life that I have. But today, I can tell you, I deserve it.
Right.
And I never, ever would have thought that. And we have this life together that, in these 2 or 3 years, we've bought in 2 homes. We run these big businesses. I'm starting this podcast to share my story with other people. Like, you're right here along with me. And it's just, I'm going back to college. My relationship with my kids have just blossomed into this beautiful, like, when I got Micah in my life, it's like, which is my stepson, like, that was like the completion to my circle. It is so crazy. And, he has the same issues, with his biological mom that I have. And when I got with him, I was like, with Jason, and I seen this little boy, and he looked over at my son, our second date, we took the kids, and he looked over at my son, and he said, Jake, does your mom cook every single night? I started crying in the kitchen, and I looked at Jason, and I said, we're getting married. This is me. This is what I owe back to this world, is what Linda did for me. I'm going to do for him.
Yeah. Definitely.
I'm going to do it. I owe it to the world, and he deserves it.
So how do you deal with problems, like, as they arise? Like, as you're dealing with kids now, and being sober.
I want to suck them in the freaking...
But besides that, like, what about how you deal with certain situations and how it would look different as you were drinking? Like, if all this stuff was really happening, and just say that you were, married to Jason still, and the kids are going through, their little things, because now they're teenagers, they go through their things. How do you think both of them would look, right? Being drunk or being sober?
They'd be drinking already. My kids would, because they would see a toxic environment. Neither one of and I would be off the hook, dude. I haven't gotten a fight in 3 years, and I won't unless somebody's hurting my children or touching my husband. Those are the only reasons why. I have boundaries for myself to be like a woman, to be like ladylike. Like, I never cared about any of that ever before, and just to be able to have this beautiful household of sober home, like, and we don't think we're better than anyone. Right. Like, my kids are coming over tomorrow, my stepkids that are older, like, they'll bring their own beer, like, we ain't tripping, like, whatever, we choose not to drink. And so it's like, my teenagers who are 15 and 16 see this household where we go travel all the time, we have hella fun, we throw parties, like, we do shit, we have fun without alcohol in our lives. And they literally, at their age, Christy, we were off the hook. You had already had a kid, I was doing ecstasy, like, we were bad. And so it's like, my kids are so innocent. They've been to like one party, and then, like, dude, they don't even drink, they don't smoke, they don't do shit. And it's just like, I'm so proud to give them this example of, just because alcohol is so accepted, and it's just around everybody and everybody's houses. This is just so cool that I could show my kids this,
Right. A different way to live.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And just my life now is like so beautiful. It literally, like my husband said his story last night, like, it gets better every single day, and it's like unreal, the life I live. I feel like I'm in a dream.
Right. So, like, back then, you know, you were present, right? But now you get to say, I'm present. Like, I'm really present.
And not only that, there's just like so much more time I have, you know, not drinking, not being hungover, not sleeping 10 hours. Like, so now I'm like, dude, I'm going to college. I finally have goals, Christy, for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
It's not all about my kid.
Yeah.
You know, now I'm living my life for me. And I thought my life was over years ago.
Right.
I really did. I'm like, this is what life is. Work, drink, come home, fucking pass out, whatever, like whatever.
And
I'm an
then do it
aunt.
all over
Yep,
again.
every day.
Yep.
And now it's just I have so many goals and so many things, and I just want to be this person to tell my story, because if one fucking person out there hears it and they're like, oh, what? Like, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I do want to, like, there's so many people in this town that I grew up in, like, that I need to apologize to, you know, for, like, my behavior and things I've done. Like, I don't remember what I did to some of you guys, but I'm telling you right now, I was a dirtbag for a really long fucking time. And it was from my own hurt from being a kid. And I was just childish and taking it out on everybody else. And I'm grown enough now to say that.
So how about making those amends? Do you see yourself in the future doing that?
I have to the certain ones that matter to me.
Right.
Like, there was random people where I'm like, hey, right now I'm saying it, hey, I probably owe you an apology, but but the ones that, like, I feel like I really wronged or it upset me, or it would have been a big deal to them, not just like we're like, oh, that random chick.
Right.
Like, wow. I was a mean person.
That's
I was mean.
Awesome that you're
and
that you're able
it's
to
fucked
do that.
up too, because I still have that, like, inside of me. Like, trust me, if it needs to come out, it can. But every time I tell my husband all the time, like, if something's popping off or, like, I'm irritated or he's mad or whatever, I'm just like, hey, I'm saving my last fight for, like, if I get mugged, somebody fucks with my kid,
Right.
or some bitch tries to text you. Those
Right.
are my three.
Right, for real.
So, you know, other than that, I really don't care what people have to say or how they feel, or, you know, it is what it is. Like, I lost a lot of friends was probably, like, the hardest thing for me when I got sober. That was the roughest thing. But, you know, like I told Miranda the other day, like, quality over quantity, you know, like, the friends
Right.
that I do have matter more. And I'm busy working on me. So if you don't want to be in my life, don't.
So if we can just jump back to that amends that you made, how did you feel after that? Did you feel?
I felt like an asshole walking out, like, fuck, I wonder what I really said or really did.
Right. But did you feel at all like an inner peace that has come out just in the fact of you saying that? Because I don't see us apologizing when we're drinking. I'm
No,
like, yeah, fuck you, bitch.
no,
like,
fuck
say something
no.
stupid. You know, like that would be me. But now I feel like now that I'm sober and I get to look at my actions just like you did, you know what I mean? Looking at your actions, now you get to go forward and actually make those amends and be like, damn, bro, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, there's some I'm not sorry for at all. They deserved
Right.
it. But people that didn't, I was mean to a lot of people that did not fucking deserve it. you
But
know?
acknowledging the difference in those two, you know what I mean? Like, hey, sorry, you slashed my tire and I socked you in your face. Like, probably not. You know what I mean?
Shouldn't have did
Yeah,
that.
shouldn't have done that. You know. But I do like, and I know that you now, like, working through all of your things, and how you are now, like, you're amazing. You're doing amazing things. You know what I mean, for you and for your family.
I would have never thought. That's with everything, though. Like, my marriage, like, this might sound stupid. You guys are like, oh, yeah, whatever. Me and my husband don't fucking fight. Like, we've been in maybe 3 arguments that were bad. Other than that, we bicker. Other
You
than
guys
that,
can talk through shit.
yeah.
Yeah. That's nothing we could ever do before.
No.
I'm like,
And when I
put it
was
up.
drinking, let's be honest, when we first got together, I put my hands on him one time. And he looked at me and he said, don't ever put your hands on me again. And no reaction from him because he was sober.
Right.
I was drunk, mad, flipped out, threw a brick through his fucking window, flipping out because he left me at the bar drunk. And he didn't want to deal with me and I wasn't listening, so he left me there. And my abandonment issues, I flipped out. And I went to his house and and I just flipped out and hit him, and he just looked at me like completely calm, like, don't put your hands on me ever again, Jenny. And just to see, like, not the reaction back, you know, and so now in our marriage today, like, he was upset the other day, like, freaking out, pissed off, talking shit, right? But I can stay calm when he's mad instead of feeling the fire. And then the opposite, vice versa.
Right.
When I'm mad, he can stay calm. And that's really the magic of sobriety. If if all your relationships are toxic, I promise, don't drink for a fucking month and see what happens.
See
like,
what happens.
yeah. And that's what's really cool is I just did that little commercial for that new app. You know, there's an app called Lucid, and it's like a sober app. And what's cool is you get to go. It's a dating app. Like, if You know how awkward it is when you're sober and you're like, oh, so how much do you drink? Like, no, dude, what's cool is like there's that sober app and you can go on there and you know everyone on there is sober.
Right.
Looking for the same thing, you know? And I just want this sober community to get bigger. Like, I have a lot of friends that got sober now after me, and it's just like, and not because of me, but after me, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, there's so many of us. There's like 20 of us almost now, you know? And it's like,
It's a new trend.
yeah.
It
and
is a new trend.
it is. And, you know, I'm just so happy in my life and so proud of myself. Not only, oh, because you're sober, Jenny, but because of what not drinking has made me who I am today, like learning who I am, you know?
Yeah.
Because the day you quit drinking, I feel like you really go back to that age of when you started, like, because that whole time drinking, like, you didn't really know who you were. You were doing this, doing that. Then when you quit drinking, everything's so awkward. You have to learn how to go around friends again. You got to learn how to be at a Christmas party. You got to learn how to be this, you know? And you, like, start all over, like, being immature and just, like, a little kid. And it's beautiful because you actually get to, like, be who you want. Like, you can, like, rebuild yourself into, like, whoever you want to be, you know?
Yeah.
So I owe my life to, you know, Jesus and just being sober, man. It's crazy. I can't believe what this shit's legal and what it's done to people's lives, and people just don't see it. We didn't for years, but I can't believe people don't see, like, that's the problem, the booze.
I can't believe there's normies.
I know. There's probably really not. I don't know. No one should be drinking. It's fucking poison.
I just know that I'm not a normie. Can't normalize it. There's no way around it. One is not enough, and
never will be ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm glad I got to tell my little spiel on here. I mean, now I'm a step grandma. My grandson's out there banging on the door, so I better get out there to him. But
well, thank you for sharing your story. We really appreciate it, and hearing all the things about what makes Jenny Jenny. And we don't have to say Jenny from the Block anymore. You know,
I like it though.
Yeah,
J-Lo was also so overrated.
It's also who you are, or who you were, you know, and who you are now.
Yeah.
So thank you.
So if anybody wants to write in and tell us your stories or ask us any questions, we do have an email. It is sobersistershowshow@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram, sobersistershowshow@gmail.com.
Stay tuned and stay sober.
Keep it bougie, not boozy. Bye.
Bye.